Hey everybody, hope this is finding you all well. Happy September. We're starting off our program back online and it's frustrating. So to be back online, we're planning to be back together face to face, but we'll talk more about that in a bit. We're going to be a part of a 4-week session here, and the 4 week is about this is your year. I truly believe this can be your year if you choose it. If you choose it and you work at it and you make it, this can be a defining and significant and real year for you. Not just a COVID year or not just another COVID year or not just, oh, thank God we're back. No, we can make this year a significant and real and important year in our lives. It's going to take a little planning, and let's talk about planning for a second. I've got some interesting stories personally of planning that I look back when I think about planning. These are some of the things I think about. So here comes 3 stories. Here's the first. Way back in the day when I was just kind of started off in youth ministry, I was part of a 3-person retreat team, and we would go off to a high school for 3 days and do presentations and meet in classrooms. And it was a retreat for 3 days right before Easter. And it was kind of cool. We all prepared different talks and different significant things, and it was all good. That's not where the planning came in. The planning came in as a little bit of a practical joke. It's not necessarily cool to play practical jokes, but we pranked one another a lot. So it's kind of the expectation and the norm of the team. And here's my favorite planned prank. So we go on this retreat and we're at this high school for 3 days. And it's 2 guys and a lady. And myself and the other guy, we were staying at a rectory. And the lady, she was staying at a convent. The convent was connected to a hospital. And so we had the car, we would get in the car, we would go to the hospital and go pick her up. But to get to the convent, you had to go through the hospital, and then you actually had to go through like a storage room. And then you got to the convent door and you knocked, and our friend Anne came out to be with us, and she came out to join us, and we spent the day together. So the first day we were doing this, we're helping, Anne carry her, bags and luggage back into it. And we go through the hospital and we go through the storage facility. And then we get to the convent and we drop Anne off the convent. And we're walking back, my friend Bob and I, we're walking back through the storage room and we see one of those Recessa Annies. If you ever learned about CPR or about mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, you probably have practiced on a Recessa Annie. It's just like a little half body. And it's right there. It was just laying kind of right on top of a whole bunch of stuff. It was a Recessa Annie. And we looked at it and we saw it and we thought, that can be something later on. So the second day we go to pick up Anne and we get there on time and we go through the hospital and we go through the storage facility and we knock on the door of the convent and then we walk from that convent door through the storage facility and through the hospital, and we're off on our day. Our last day though, I walked in. We intentionally arrived a little bit late, and I walked in to pick up Anne. I said, "Hell, Bob's back in the car. Bob's back in the car. We're waiting. We're sorry we're late. We gotta go. We gotta go." So we leave out of the convent, and we're walking to the storage facility, which we had turned down the lights. It still was lit because it had like little lights up on top of the walls and that kind of stuff for sunlight. So it was a little bit lit, but it was dimly lit. And we're walking through, and we had placed a blanket over where the Recessa Annie was supposed to be. And actually we put Bob underneath the blanket. And so as we're walking, racing, kind of moving our way quickly through the storage facility, Bob slowly rises up. The recessive Annie has risen and taunted. She got scared for a moment, and then she hit us hard. Okay? That was a good practical joke that we planned. Here's a more serious aspect. It involves planning, but there's a lot of luck involved. And it revolves around my dad's funeral. When my dad died, I was living in Iowa. My number 2 brother was living in California. My number 3 brother I was number 1 brother. Number 2, California. Number 3 was in Pennsylvania, near where my mom was at. And number 4 was going to school in South Carolina. So I get up the next morning. I heard the news the night before. I get up the next morning. I catch a flight from Iowa to Chicago to Philadelphia. And on the flight from Iowa to Chicago, I start making notes to myself about, this is what I've seen at funerals, and this is what I think could happen, and this is what I could envision seeing happen, and this is what I think we should do. My brother is flying from LA, number 2 brother, is flying from Los Angeles, and he lands in Chicago, and then by chance, we end up on the same flight from Chicago to Philadelphia. So we sit down together. I got my pad of paper, and I started asking him all the questions I was asking myself, and saying, "Well, what do you think? What are you thinking about the funeral? What are you seeing? What do you expect to have happen? What are you thinking about?" And we sat and we talked about both our expectations, and we kind of put together our thoughts. Number 1, number 2 brother. We get to the airport in Philadelphia, and we're not even sure who's picking us up or what's happening, because we just didn't have enough time to discuss any of that. But as it turns out, who's picking us up is number 3 and number 4 brother. And so we take the hour car ride from the Philadelphia airport to our family home, and number 1 and number 2 brothers are saying, this is what we didn't say, this is what we're thinking. We asked questions first. The number 3, number 4, what have you seen? What you got it, okay? And then we talked about it in the car ride home, and we came up with a plan. And we got to the house and greeted my mom and expressed our sympathies, and then sat down at the dining room table and did that with mom. So the planning went from 1 to 1 and 2, to 1 and 2 with 3 and 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 with mom. And within about an hour to an hour and a half after all arriving home and placed together, we had a plan, and we knew what we were going to do. And it was luck how we crossed our transportation paths, but it was a good plan, and it worked well for us, and it made a difference. It was easier than walking through blindly. Planning paid off. Planning played off on a practical joke. Planning played off on making a funeral plan. If you're going to have this be your year, I'm inviting you to seriously consider planning. The lessons that we're going to be covering throughout this entire year, whether we're face-to-face, whether we're online, or whether we're face-to-face, we started planning in February. We've had materials. I've had a nice little green binder, and it's all been ready to go. And we've made this plan for it to be your year based on what we're doing with church. So we will invite you to really consider and think about how this year could be your year. That's a video for the first part of this. There'll be a question in the middle. I invite you to consider and think about and talk about with your family this question. Briefly, however long it takes, but have this question be a part of your online gathering today.